You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Coming up, authorities respond to disturbances in the Ottawa County Jail on Monday night. It's a developing story that we'll have more on.
And we take a look at a police department that gives a fallen officer's daughter a big send-off for her first day of kindergarten.
We haven't had to deal with rain this week. They've been dealing with flooding situations down in the south from all of that rain. But we do have rain in the forecast, but not today. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. We have a developing story out of Ottawa County this morning. Reports of a disturbance inside the Ottawa County Jail late last night. Authorities tell us 3 pods were involved in a disturbance which began as inmates were upset over an interruption of phone service, which occurred due to technical difficulties. After authorities dismissed several supporting police agencies, they were then called back when inmates set a trash can on fire. That fire was put out safely.
Friday, the electricity from the storm knocked out our phones and our kiosk in there, so where the inmates couldn't make phone calls or do video visits with people. So it's been kind of stressful for the past few days. Well, when we come in today, we start calling the companies that's supposed to get it fixed. Well, they wasn't able to get it fixed.
There were no reports of any injuries, but one man was transported to the hospital. We found out it was for unrelated reasons. Once again, this is a developing story. We will continue to update it on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. An Iowa-based trucking company on Monday announces its plan to acquire assets of Joplin-based Contract Freighters Incorporated. Heartland Express says the acquisition of CFI is for $525 million. CFI provides truckload services to major customers throughout the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. Officials say the acquisition by Heartland Express would make the company the 8th largest truckload fleet in the U.S. In a news release, the Heartland Express CEO Michael Gurdon says CFI will continue to operate from Joplin under its own brand and current leadership team. To learn more about the agreement, you can head to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Missourians might see more money in their paychecks. On Monday, Governor Mike Parson announced he's calling for a special session to make income tax cuts and extend agriculture tax credit programs. The special session is scheduled to start on September 6th at noon. Some of the top things Governor Parson wants done includes reducing the income tax rate to 4.8%, increasing the standard tax deduction for individuals by $2,000 and $4,000 for married couples. He also says he wants to eliminate the bottom income tax bracket.
We wanted to work with our colleagues in the General Assembly and agriculture partners to formulate a path forward. Today, I believe we have that plan, which provides the largest tax cut in the state's history to every Missourian and gives Missouri's #1 industry the support it deserves.
Over on the other side of the aisle, some Democrats are calling this an election ploy. House Minority Leader Crystal Quaid released a statement saying in part, the governor's special session is an election season ploy to change the subject after suddenly discovering that eliminating Missourians' reproductive rights is not the winning issue Republicans thought it would be. It is also a textbook example of fiscal irresponsibility. These days, you think twice if you say something's free, right? Well, there's usually tons of fine print, but there is a fair in Lamar, Missouri that is free, and it's officially called the Lamar Free Fair. Events like a preteen and teen pageant, hobby show, and art exhibit have already kicked off, and today the carnival and rides will open.
The young farmers, they're not all young, but the farmers that do it have all come to my husband afterwards and said, this is so much fun, please do it again. And that's all it takes. And so as long as they're enjoying it and coming and participating, then he just keeps doing it.
Excuse me, those events will kick off on Wednesday, not today. I had my days wrong. This is the 79th annual Lamar Free Fair. Well, do you like pork? Do you like ham? How about Swiss cheese, pickles, and yellow mustard? If the answer is yes, then today could be a very tasty day for you, because not only is it Tuesday, but it's also National Cuban Sandwich Day. observed every year on August 23rd. As the name suggests, this toasted pressed sandwich came from Cuba, but it grew up in South Florida as Cuban immigrants introduced it to the U.S. If you've never had a Cuban sandwich, Tuesday is the perfect time to try one. That's today, and you may get a deal. A lot of restaurants offer Cuban sandwich specials to observe the day. Man, I woke up this morning thinking it was Wednesday until just now.
It's okay, baby. I made a mistake too. There was a period for a couple of weeks where I was always one day behind.
Yes.
So it's better to be one day behind, I guess, than ahead, but you know, it happens. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect to my knowledge, except maybe Gabe. Gabe's over here. He's looking pretty perfect right now. Something about his face. Just about as perfect as those Cuban sandwiches.
What else happened on this date in history?
I have no idea. Do we know now that it's the right date? Because maybe I was off too, and maybe I picked the wrong one. I don't know. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay to think it's Wednesday. It's just going to be really disappointed when it's not truly Friday in a couple of days.
True that.
Yeah, unfortunately. But it's all right. Let's think positive today. Today's a positive day. It's a beautiful day, actually. But on this, okay, so the hurricane season has not been very active this year so far. But historically, the last several of these day in histories in weather have been hurricane related. And you want to know what today's about? It's about a hurricane. Yeah, there was something going on, and this year we're just kind of calm. So on this day in 1964, there was a Navy reconnaissance flight into Hurricane Cleo. It suffered severe structural damage during the penetration of the hurricane north of Puerto Rico. So I don't like to fly, and when I see the videos of these hurricane hunters and these guys that go into these things, man, that terrifies me. I mean, most planes try and avoid this kind of stuff, and these guys fly right into it. No hurricanes or anything quite like that on Skywatch Storm Tracker in our area. They've been dealing with flooding and heavy rain with this system all the way from Dallas. Now has its shifts east toward Atlanta. No rain in our area yet. The sun is rising, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And here's the nice thing. We've got gorgeous temperatures to go right along with it. 65 in Joplin right now. What a beautiful start to the day. And we've still got cool spots. Gosh, it's even a pinch cooler now in Chanute. 57, 58 for Fredonia and Yates Center, 60 in Fort Scott, 65 in Carthage, and 67 in Cassville. As the kids board the bus, which they should be doing if they haven't already, 61 roughly where we'll be, lower 60s. As they get off the bus, we're looking at 87 degrees by 3 o'clock this afternoon. As we go through the rest of today, it's going to be pretty toasty. Highs pushing mid to upper 80s, maybe even some lower 90s with passing clouds. Mostly clear skies tonight, temperatures dropping back off into the 60s. And I wanted to show you the 7-day forecast because, first off, it's hot Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we're watching rain chances by this weekend and into next week. And of course, we still need that rain. And we're keeping an eye on some of the rain that may be moving into our area in the next few days.
All right, well, up next, Chanute, Kansas native Miranda Collins stops by our studio to talk about her latest novel, On the Run.
And later, for years, we've heard breakfast, it's the most important meal of the day. Now there's one new study that says where and what you eat for that meal may be just as important. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. In Health Watch this morning, sufficient exercise may reduce the risk of severe COVID-19 and new data on why pregnant women need to get the right vitamins. Astrid Martinez has a look at some of the day's top health stories.
New research suggests that high folate intake levels during pregnancy may lower the risk of congenital heart disease in children. Previous studies showed that folate supplementation before and during pregnancy could reduce the risk of birth defects, but their role in preventing CHD was inconclusive. A new study shows that a weekly routine of 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity may lessen both the risk of COVID-19 infection and severity, including hospital admission and death. Researchers say the finding reinforces the urgency to stay physically active for a variety of reasons. And it's not only important to eat breakfast, but new research says it's also important where young people eat it and what they eat. A study in Spain shows that eating breakfast at home is linked with fewer behavioral problems in kids and teens. The findings published in Frontiers in Nutrition suggest that this may be because meals away from home are frequently less nutritious. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Now, as states tighten abortion restrictions, a murky online market for abortion medications is thriving. According to a Wall Street Journal investigation, many of the sites are registered overseas. They're separate and distinct from U.S.-based telehealth operators that can prescribe abortion pills to states where it is legal. The sites selling abortion medications without a prescription are charging as much as $500 for them. One website based in Kazakhstan says abortion pill sales have doubled since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Medical support is not included. The unregulated market creates many risks, including the fact that the pills could be fake or may arrive too late to be used effectively. People who buy abortion pills online without a prescription could also potentially face criminal charges in states that restrict abortion access. 7th and Rangeline right now is looking really good as the sun comes up on a partly cloudy start to the day, and the temperatures are matching how beautiful it looks because they're quite beautiful too. 65 in Joplin right now. We've still got some cool spots out to the west though. Fredonia 58, Yates Center 58, Chanute at 57. We're talking these are fall-like temperatures in the middle of August. The end of August. We're in the end of August. This is the last week. And it feels that cool outside. 62 Pittsburgh, 64 Columbus, 65 in Miami. For the bus stop forecast, last time we're going to take a look at this morning as the kids get off to school. We're talking lower 60s and, of course, those partly cloudy skies. When that bus turns around, brings them back, we're looking at temperatures around 87 by 3 o'clock this afternoon. And today it's going to be warm, but not as warm as it's about to get. We'll show you that here in just a second. Mid to upper 80s, maybe even some lower 90s for afternoon highs under partly cloudy skies with a light east breeze. As we head into tonight, we get mostly clear skies. Temperatures once again back into the 60s, so not bad. Overall, that east wind will eventually become calm as the night goes on. Short-term forecast shows those partly cloudy skies, and they also show where we do warm up quite nicely today. And it also shows where we warm up even more come into tomorrow. And it's the long-range forecast that I really want to talk to you about because that's where things start to change a little bit. We get some rain chances. So this is heading into Thursday. Rain staying to our south. Another hot day for us here in the 4 states. Rain all around us by Friday. Still not here, though. Still another hot day. Then as we head into the weekend, we've got thunderstorm chances starting to build in by Saturday evening, overnight, and into Sunday they stick around. And then we're watching same thunderstorm chances into Monday. We need the rain, and we've got quite a bit of it on the way. Now, the nice thing is heat index values. Yeah. It's a little bit on the muggy side, just a pinch. And we've got heat index values to deal with, but the good news is they're only going to be 2, maybe 3 degrees above what the actual temperature is. 95 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday under partly cloudy skies. And then we watch the rain chances this weekend as they slowly build in. Of course, we'll continue to watch these rain chances as we get closer to the weekend and see what they're going to do. But one thing it looks like it's going to do for sure is rain for at least 3 days. And overnight lows still not looking too bad considering that we're wrapping up August. We got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 coming your way.
Well, this morning we are recognizing a local author from Chanute, Kansas this morning, Miranda Collins, who just released her debut novel, On the Run. Now, this book is a suspense thriller. I've started reading it. It's awesome, and it has ties to the 4-state area. When I had you on earlier this morning, we talked details about the book and stuff, but what inspired you to get into writing?
I've always loved to read and write, and it was something that I wanted to pursue. I've spent a number of years in our ag businesses. We have a small family ag business in seed and chemical in Chanute. And my degrees and background are in science and agriculture, but I always had these stories just burning holes in my brain. And once I got my kids raised, I decided I was going to get serious about writing and publishing. And people are telling me that it's fast-paced, it grabs them from the beginning, and that's the type of story I like. And so I was inspired to write something that I would enjoy reading.
Okay. So you'd probably recommend that it's never too late to get into writing.
Oh, absolutely. And if that's something you have an interest in, I encourage you to read the authors that you love, study their plotting, study their use of theme, study their dialogue, get involved in local writers groups. I'm involved in the local writers group, the Chanute Library Writers, and we support each other. We do little writing challenges, and I learn amazing things from other local people who like to write. There's a lot of self-help books online that you can purchase. I had been writing stories for a number of years, and I have a whole bunch that went to die in the graveyard of my computer because I didn't have a great grasp on plot. And so one book that I highly recommend is Save the Cat Writes a Novel, because it tells you how to hit the points that readers expect. Otherwise, you're going to disappoint readers, and your story just sort of fizzles out if you don't reach those certain points. Now, it's not meant to be a cookie cutter way to approach a book. You know, you don't want it to sound like every other thing on the market, but it does tell you what people are expecting in terms of where to hit those points at certain spots in the book. And that made a big difference for me, and it's helped me write stories that people are really enjoying.
So have you ever found yourself just stuck with writer's block, don't know where to go? What advice do you have for those?
There are two things that work well for me. One, I will swap and work on a different project, or something about getting in the car loosens up my creativity. I will often dictate into the notes section of my phone. Now, I do that safely. I just speak into my phone without looking at it, and then I take that back and I will input it into my manuscript. Now, I have to be sure that my phone interprets what I say, because the one day I had said, "Your chariot awaits," and when I got back and inputted it into the manuscript, my phone had interpreted that as "Your Cheerios await." So I'm just careful about how I edit. But I find that's a good way for me to really loosen up my creativity. I probably wrote 12 chapters in my most recent book on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know, make the use of the time you have. We all have busy lives. You know, people that are raising kids or they have a full-time job. Find time to write. I'll do that in the morning when I've got a little time eating my breakfast, or like I said, when I'm on the road. I mentioned that we work in a seed business. Sometimes I'll be out delivering seed and I'll be working on my book at the same time. So I'm just finding creative ways to multitask because I love doing this and it's something that I want to pursue, and I've just found a way to make it work.
I do find my drives to work in the morning, there's not a lot of people on the road, and that's when my imagination is the best. Yes.
There's something about that driving that, and even writing, because sometimes my husband will start driving and I'll be over there typing, and he laughs about retiring and someday becoming my driver so that I can write while he drives.
You need the price of gas to go down even
Yes,
further.
exactly.
Okay, so your book has done so well, actually, that you are getting a trip out to Vegas. Talk about this.
I am. So I submitted the book for consideration for the Adventure Writers Competition with no expectation that I had any chance of winning. And when they notified me that I was a finalist, I went to look at the prize package because I hadn't even looked before. I called my mom and I said, "I'm a finalist." And she said, "What'd you win?" I said, "I don't know, I haven't looked yet." And it's a cash prize and a trophy, consideration of publication by Brave Ship Books. And the very cool thing about this, it's sponsored by the Clive Cussler family. And Clive Cussler is a very famous best-selling author who was the author of the Dirk Pitt series. And it's so very cool to be honored in his family legacy. And so I get to fly out there October 8th to Vegas, and they're going to announce the winner. And it was an international competition with submissions from over 10 countries, and now I'm in the top 3. They'll unveil the Grandmaster prize that night. But either way, I won a Clive trophy, and I'm just really honored by that, and love that other people enjoy. I'm going to, yes, I get that seal that I'm a Clive winner. So that's super exciting for me.
That is really cool. Well, congratulations on that. And if you would like to get a copy of this, you can find it on Amazon, or you can go to Always Buying Books in Joplin this Saturday. Give us the details.
Yep, I will be there from 1 to 3. I highly recommend you come by and see me. I'll have books available for sale. I'll be signing those. We can visit about the book and about the future of the series. Come in and see Bob at Always Buying Books. He is so supportive of local authors. There are amazing treasures in there. I always love just, poking around in their stacks, but come by and see me. I'd love to visit about the book.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And good luck on your future novels as well, because Sadie Lynch is a series. So
yes, it is.
Excited to see the next one.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. It's time to honor today's four-state hero, David Robinson. Sergeant Robinson served in the Marines from 2003 to 2006. He served in Iraq and Kuwait with the 7th Engineer Support Battalion and the Marine Wing Support Squadron 372. During his service, he completed 3 tours in Iraq and earned the Global War on Terrorism Medal, among several other medals. Native of Webb City, Missouri, we thank you. Today's four-state hero, David Robinson.
Well, the family of a Houston police officer who died in the line of duty in 2020 is getting continued love and support from his fellow officers.
That's right. They've become like family to Officer Jason Knox's widow and children.
The Houston PD proved their dedication to the family once again on Monday, giving Knox's daughter a big send-off for her first day of kindergarten.
Shernmin Chow reports.
Fire trucks, police cars, flashing lights, and scores of officers all here for
Eliza. Cooper, turn sideways. There you go.
an overwhelmed 5-year-old Eliza Knox and her first day of kindergarten. In 2020, Eliza's father, HPD Tactical Flight Officer Jason Knox, was killed in a police helicopter crash. His law enforcement family have stood by wife Kara and their 2 young children.
It's been almost 2.5 years, and here they are, still showing up. So it's amazing.
Including an HPD flyby.
Is Daddy's helicopter going to come?
Yeah. Big brother Cooper got a big send-off too back in 1st grade. Now, 8 years old, he's looking after his little sister.
I get to show her to her classroom and show her where everything is.
Officers and first responders took a class photo with the family. And then a motorcycle escort followed the bus as it pulled into the neighborhood.
It means more than the world to me. Love, support, everything. I don't have enough words.
Houston City Councilman and former HPD officer Mike Knox, also known as Grandpa, was there too, along with other family, to see the siblings onto the bus. The convoy pulled out and headed to school. There, mounted patrol officers waited to greet them. This law enforcement family will likely be back on other big days, like high school graduations. But even now, Eliza knows she is not alone.
What a sweet story.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, trouble for one of the biggest theater operators in the country as financial problems may force it into bankruptcy.
And what's big and green and fights crime in a courtroom? If you said She-Hulk attorney at law, you're right. You got a preview of Marvel's latest series when we return. You're watching KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:32. Let's take a look at today's top stories. We have a developing story out of Ottawa County, Oklahoma, after reports of a disturbance inside the Ottawa County Jail Monday night. Authorities tell us 3 pods were involved in a disturbance, which began as inmates were upset over interruption of phone service, which occurred due to technical difficulties. After authorities dismissed several supporting police agencies, they were then called back when inmates set a trash can on fire, and that fire was put out.
Friday, the electricity from the storm knocked out our phones and our kiosk in there, so where the inmates couldn't make phone calls or do video visits with people. So it's been kind of stressful for the past few days. Well, when we come in today, we start calling the companies that's supposed to get it fixed. Well, they wasn't able to get it fixed.
There were no reports of any injuries, but one man was transported to the hospital for unrelated reasons. Once again, this is a developing story. We will continue to update it on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, the decisive statewide Kansas vote in favor of abortion rights is affirmed through a partial hand recount. 9 of the state's 105 counties, including Crawford County, conducted the recount. Voters on August 2nd rejected a ballot measure that would have removed protections for abortion rights from the Kansas Constitution and given the legislature the authority to further restrict or ban abortion. It failed by 165,000 votes statewide. After the recount, the side that supported the measure gained 6 votes, and those opposed to it lost 87 votes. Authorities charge a suspect for a bomb explosion in a dumpster in Parsons, Kansas last week. Officials charged 63-year-old James Sutton with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The explosion happened around 4:55 last Monday morning in a dumpster in a parking lot outside of the Labette County Judicial Center. There were no reports of injuries. Well, you may have noticed a new vibrant mural at the Fort Scott water treatment plant. It's the work of artist Stephen Toll. So far, it's taken 8 gallons of primer, 60 cans of spray paint, and 30 hours of work. The mural has even slowed traffic down a little.
People, instead of just speeding up and down Park Street to go down to Gun Park, we see them slowing down and looking nowadays, so that's really neat. I remember seeing a golf cart with a grandmother, and she had 3 or 4 grandkids with her, and they were just going by really, really slow, checking everything out.
It's pretty cool. Toll says he wants to also add some artwork to the giant west wall of the treatment plant. 100 Women Who Care make a $3,000 donation to the Joplin Community Clinic. The funds provided will be used to help women in the Joplin community who are on fixed incomes obtain wellness checks, mammograms, and lab work. 100 Women Who Care is a woman-based organization which raised money for local charities.
Truthfully, about 100 people. Where the way that we work, we're able to access a lot of other resources. So this funding can really stretch to meet the needs of a lot of women.
The Care Clinic says it will be able to help about 100 patients with wellness checks. Would you spend $5,000 on a bottle of wine and not drink it? That's what entrepreneur, art collector, and former investment banker Tullio Massoni is hoping. His wine is called Via Maritain, which is the name of the building where it's made, grown in what he says is the world's smallest vineyard atop a 16th century palazzo. It's a little more than 200 square feet, enough for just 29 bottles of red each year. The wine is aged and bottled there, but sold in an art gallery down the road. Massoni says, quote, "My wine is a form of artistic expression, philosophical provocation, something to keep in your living room so you can chat about it with your friends. Tell them about the lunatic who put a vineyard on top of his rooftop." End quote. Though, to be fair, your friends may think you're the lunatic for spending thousands on a bottle of wine you're never going to taste. Here's what you do, Chris. You buy 2 bottles.
One that you consume and one that you
drink,
save.
And one you save, yes.
See, I like those glass bottles of Coke. They're not quite $5,000, but I'll drink the Coke and then I display the bottles.
Just a bottle.
Yeah, just the bottle. Who cares? I got the benefit of the drink and I have the cool bottle to go on my little shelf. So, I don't know. Because here's the deal. I'm not spending 10 grand on 2 bottles of wine. That's just kind of silly.
When in Rome. I wouldn't either.
Literally.
I would not either.
Literally when in Rome. Quick check of the forecast. 7th and range line looking really good, and we have nice temperatures to match this beautiful start to the day. 65 in Joplin with a light east breeze. Still cool spots out west. 58 Sedan, 57 in Fredonia and Chanute, and 58 in Yates Center, 59 in Fort Scott. Those are the 50s. Everybody else, though, sitting in the 60s, so a pretty decent start to the day. Kids getting on the bus, it was probably pretty chilly as they started their day, but don't worry, it's going to warm up by the time they get home. 87 by 3 o'clock as we go through the day, all of us heading in the mid-upper 80s for afternoon highs, maybe even some lower 90s out there with a light east breeze. That east breeze diminishes, gives us mostly clear skies and lows back into the 60s. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast real quick because it's going to heat up tomorrow, Thursday, Friday into the 90s as we head into the weekend. As you can see, we're watching storm chances by Saturday, Sunday, and even to start the next work week. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this. This morning, we're discussing tattoos. Now, after a 2-year hiatus, more than 200 artists gathered at the Seattle Tattoo Expo, but of course, we've got plenty of tattoo parlors right here in the 4 states if you're interested in some body art. Now, for many people, tattoos are a personal form of self-expression. It's common to see tattoos that are portraits of loved ones, beloved pets, or even celebrities or musicians that may have had an impact on your life. It's also common to see beautiful or interesting designs that are simply for the aesthetic purposes. And then, of course, there's those ones that are a little bit odd or leave you going, what in the world? But Rest assured, the owner probably had a pretty good reason to get that particular tattoo. So our question to you, do you have any? Yes or no? So far, 36% of you say yes, and 64% of you say no. You can vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. Well, stories about missing cats don't always make the news, but every single one of them can leave a family heartbroken. Unfortunately, that's the case for the team at a hardware store in Colorado. Noel Brennan stopped by the store in Granby, Colorado, where it's fully stocked, but still feels empty.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
A hardware store stocks what you need.
Perfect.
And what you never knew you needed.
We used to say we carry everything but underwear, but we carry underwear now.
Even staff at Country Ace Hardware in Granby find something unexpected in the aisles.
So Morris came to us probably about 2 years ago.
It's kind of an importer-exporter of neighbors.
We were having a mouse problem and we needed something to help us with that.
Yeah, Morris is our store cat.
Morris made a hardware store home and joined its family.
Morris is my man.
Morris is a big part of us.
We have neighbors and kids and tourists coming in looking specifically for Morris.
He was known to be found right there laying and just basking in the warm glow of the lights.
Last Tuesday, Morris took his usual morning walk.
Every morning, 9 o'clock on the dot, he would go out the store, kind of look around in the parking lot, turn around and come back in.
No one saw what security cameras captured until it was too late.
Somebody kidnapped him.
Because we have the picture, we have the car, we have the video of them actually putting him in the car. So we know he's with them, and it may have been a mistake. They may have thought that he was a stray. That's fine. We just want Morris back.
I want him back so much.
I don't hear him in the morning, and it's too quiet.
It really is like we're missing a part of the team.
The place that has everything you'd need
Just this guy for you.
is missing what can't be replaced.
We'll get him back. That's my biggest hope.
I had some cats, and I had one that ran away for a day or so, and that made me pretty sad, too. We'll be back with Consumer Watch right after this.
This morning, Ford Motor Company says it's cutting about 3,000 white-collar jobs as part of its plan to restructure as it transitions to manufacturing electric vehicles. 2/3 of those facing cuts will be full-time salaried employees and the rest contract workers. By 2030, Ford says it's aiming for half of its global production to be electric vehicles. Ford CEO said in an email to workers, the company will provide severance and help finding new jobs. Movie theater industry's troubles are mounting. Cineworld Group, which is one of the biggest theater operators, says it's considering filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the U.S. The company is grappling with billions of dollars in debt and more empty seats than expected. Even as people continue to resume normal activities during the pandemic, the British company owns Regal Cinemas in the U.S. and operates in 10 countries. While many businesses around the country are easing mask policies, this Beverly Hills boutique is forbidding face coverings, citing a series of shoplifting incidents by thieves in disguise. Last week, Kitson placed a sign in the window announcing the ban. In a statement, the clothing and accessory store says it implemented the new policy after noticing, quote, a disturbing trend of individuals wearing masks to avoid identification in various situations. The store says that includes shoplifting, verbal harassment, and physical assaults. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. Well, Marvel's newest hero is using her powers in a very different way in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Rick Damigella reports.
Wow! Jesus, what the hell, man?
Still in control, no overwhelming feelings of rage.
No! A normal amount of rage!
There's a new Hulk in town in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
So I'm clearly nailing it at all of these things. When am I ever going to use this as a lawyer?
If you're unfamiliar with the character, Jennifer Walters is Bruce Banner's cousin. After an accident causes her to attain Hulk powers from Bruce, Jennifer becomes She-Hulk.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law is about a modern woman juggling a career, a family, friends, and she also happens to be a Hulk.
I am a lawyer. We do things by the book.
The Book of Ashanti.
No, the book of American loss.
I love that we're taking these like huge characters that you normally are so used to seeing saving the universe, you know, the fate of humanity being at stake, like these huge events, and then really just cutting all of that away and saying like, well, what happens on just like a normal day when the universe isn't in danger?
Who's your best friend?
Nikki.
Spandex.
We wanted to make sure that Nikki was fun and like this instigator and a catalyst who's constantly trying to stir up a bunch of trouble.
Jen, do your thing. God, I really like this outfit.
You know, She-Hulk is the first superhero we've really seen who really doesn't want to be one.
You could be an Avenger. Oh, I'm not a superhero. That is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans for some reason.
Hulking out in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
I'm excited. This is on Disney Plus. My family is going to be watching this together.
So I'm a little disappointed they didn't mention this period. And they talked about how, well, we want to show the superheroes, you know, when there's nothing to go superhero around town. Anybody that was growing up in the early 2000s probably remembers the show Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, where it took all these Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters, a lot of the superheroes, and they became attorneys, judges, characters from Birdman became that. And of course, Harvey Birdman is Birdman, and now he's a lawyer working for Falcon 7, who now goes by the name of Phil Ken 7.
Look at this knowledge that Chris
It's
is
a great
dropping
show.
here.
I mean, you know, it was geared toward grown-ups, so it's not going to be on Disney Plus. But it was a funny show, and it was an interesting show.
Adult shows, not like adult shows,
right?
But like there
Right,
this
is
shows that are geared towards adults on Disney Plus.
Yes, and this show's geared toward adults, but not in that way.
Okay.
But it's funny because he ends up representing, like he represents the Jetsons, the Flintstones. He represents a number of other Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters that were not superheroes, but all the old superheroes are attorneys or somehow in the field of law.
And this is a movie or a series?
It was a series. It ran for 4 seasons on Adult Swim, but it was pretty funny, and it had Gary Cole and Stephen Colbert in it, voicing some of the characters. But anyway, I digress. Quick check of the forecast. That 7th and Range line, it looks really good. Temperatures are also looking good, 65. Still some cool spots out west in the 50s. The rest of us sitting in the 60s. Buses should have come and gone by now. By the time they get home, it's going to be about 87, mid to upper 80s for highs, with some of us even pushing some low 90s. As we go into tonight, mostly clear skies, lows dropping back into the 60s again. 7-day forecast shows a warming trend starting tomorrow, running through Friday with highs in the mid to upper 90s, and then we're looking at rain chances by the weekend and the start of next week. More of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Lawyers for former President Trump want a judge to appoint a special master to review the material seized during the FBI's search of Mar-a-Lago. Trump's attorneys are also asking the court to stop investigators from examining the documents in the meantime. The Department of Justice says it will respond to the motion in court. Yesterday, Pfizer submitted an updated COVID-19 vaccine for regulatory approval. The company says the shots have been revised to specifically target new strains of the Omicron variant. The FDA hopes to approve the new vaccine before winter in time for a booster dose campaign. Dr. Anthony Fauci is leaving the federal government. The 81-year-old is the chief medical advisor to President Biden and the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Fauci's departure will take effect in December.
Quick check of the forecast. We've got highs pushing into the mid to upper 80s. Not that hot yet. Then maybe even some lower 90s under partly cloudy skies. Mostly clear tonight. Temperatures dropping back into the 60s yet again on the 7-day. That's where the mid to upper 90s come in on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday under partly cloudy skies. And then we have rain chances that we're watching as we head into the weekend. So it's rain that we need, but unfortunately it just happens to be falling on the weekend. So, you know, we get what we get.
All right. Well, an artifact from a different technological era can be yours for the right price.
This is exciting for me.
I was thinking of you when I read this. The original Apple I computer prototype that was owned by Steve Jobs is getting auctioned off. It's expected to bring in more than $400,000. Now, the computer was built in 1976 by Jobs and fellow Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak.
Wozniak actually soldered the electronics and circuit board himself. It was used as a demonstration unit when Jobs convinced the Byte Shop, one of the world's first personal computer stores, to stock the product. You can find more information at RR Auctions website. So there's a lot of history. I mean, that's what started Apple Computer.
Wow.
Is this little homemade device that they made. And then they got an investment, and the next thing you know,
Didn't they like build it in their garage or
yeah.
something like
They're working out of Steve Jobs' parents' garage.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We're back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.